In some positive news, results of a Bloomberg survey have cut the chances of an Australian recession to just 35%, and that's down 5 points from last month. Now, the RBA's decision to pause its rate hiking cycle in April was the major reason to cut the chances of a recession back to 35%, with economists sensing more of a chance of a narrow, soft landing. But that's probably little comfort to companies that are going insolvent or feeling the pressure right now. Business collapses have hit a 3.5 year high, with the data from the corporate regulator showing that 831 companies had administrators appointed last month. That's compared to an average of 720 the same month between 2016 and 2017 and the 2018 and 2019 financial years. To give us a sense of just how bad it's getting, I'm joined by Justin Howlett, partner at SMB Advisory. Justin, welcome back to Money News.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Are we in the middle, Justin, of a major insolvency crisis?
Well, statistically speaking, as you've just pointed out, that would suggest so. But I think more alarming for us insolvency practitioners is what's not reported. So the stats are on the rise in terms of formal insolvency appointments. But what that doesn't cover is what we are seeing on the front line. It's the spike in business owners putting their hand up for help. Now, that help doesn't just include formal appointments. It extends to informal workouts. So effectively doing the same thing, but without the formal banner put on it. There's also been a massive spike in those businesses that are just treading water, for want of a better term.
Yes.
Seeking assistance and putting their hand up in terms of what Plan B or Plan C might look like if things don't work out. And that has never, ever been as high a demand as it is now.
So what do we blame, Justin? Is it higher interest rates, labour shortage? What underlying issues have contributed to this problem?
It's all of the above, to be honest, Scott. It really is a perfect storm. So the media is saturated with, as you've just said, it's the high interest rates. The ATO have adopted some would argue, a justifiably aggressive role. There was certainly a hands-off approach during COVID and the rebound out of COVID. The relaxing of government stimulus packages, it has led to a perfect storm. But what's not probably reported that much is the add-on pressures of small businesses. Now, media is full of the household names, the Porter Davises of the world, but it's the mum and dad businesses that are experiencing the same problem. So the cost of borrowing has never been higher
Yes.
in recent times.
10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, correct. And it's a flow-on effect. So it's staffing, no matter what industry, whether it be construction, whether it be hospitality, even retail is a really good example. The cost of labour is through the roof, and that's if you can find the labour in the first place. Simple as that.
You touched on Porter Davis, which is obviously a major problem for a lot of Victorians and Queenslanders in terms of people who put deposits down and have so much uncertainty. The building sector has been one of the hardest hit by insolvencies. Why have they suffered the most?
Well, there's a couple of theories. It's the ability to source product and raw materials has been a massive factor. And I think the very nature of the industry itself, in terms of a lot of fixed price contracts. So if there's a blowout in terms of costs and the builder themselves has to wear it at the end of the day, it's that perfect storm. Your revenue is locked in and your costs are blowing out left, right and centre.
Yes.
It leaves them in a very precarious position.
You touched on the fact that the government has dished out a lot of support during the pandemic, and many businesses were receiving that money, and that was a life support for a lot of them, small and medium-sized businesses. Did the loss of the money make the recovery harder?
I think so. I think so. I think it'd be very hard to find people that argue against that. It's armed with that, and what we saw, and we're seeing now, is the tail end of those businesses that relied on that support. And I don't think anybody can begrudge the government for rushing in the support when they did. Well, what it did, there's no doubt it kept a lot of companies alive that arguably should not have been. And
Yes.
we've all heard to death, the term zombie companies. What we're seeing now is an influx of companies that genuinely were impacted by COVID, did all the right things in terms of that the stimulus was warranted and received. They've hung on to find out that what the new world looks like, and will that be okay? Now, for some of them, it will be, but the vast majority, which I think the stats support, is that they're not going to be okay. That the new normal might make them, justifiable to exist going forward, but it's not going to catch up and create an additional revenue stream that catch up the damage done.
Finally, Justin, if you are a small business owner right now and you feel as though you're under huge financial pressure, but you don't necessarily understand what insolvency or bankruptcy is, what would be your advice to those business owners right now?
put your hand up and just seek help. There's no shame in putting your hand up for help, no matter what the issue might be. There is never a too early to ask for help, but there can always be a too late. Now, the first point of call, traditionally your accountant or the lawyer could be the first point of call. That's not possible for a number of reasons. Your local insolvency professionals will always be available, but there are a number of free and confidential government-funded services now too. The Small Business Debt Helpline is a really good example of that. People can jump online and jump on the phone and speak to very qualified and very good professionals who are there for this very purpose.
Justin Howlett, partner at SMB Advisory, good friend of Money News. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Pleasure.
Renewable gases such as green hydrogen provide all the great benefits of natural gas, but with zero carbon emissions when burned. By blending and ultimately replacing natural gas with renewable gas, customers can continue to enjoy the gas flame for cooking, heating and hot water in their home. The journey towards 100% renewable gas has already started. To find out more, search renewable gas or visit renewable-gas.com.au. Renewable gas, we're changing gas for good.
By signing the business up to a BP Plus fuel card, we're earning triple Qantas points for the next 6 months, while saving up to 5 cents per litre. That means more in the kitty for the Friday lunch out. Plus, if we hit 10,000 litres in 6 months, we'll nab an additional 100,000 bonus Qantas points, which could result in... That sounds like doing business the clever way. Limited time offer. Min spend. Leaderage criteria apply. Must be a Qantas Business Rewards member to earn Qantas points. For T's and C's, visit bpplus.com.au.